Tuesday, Flow Riders, and welcome to another episode of The Flow. I am your main host, Katie, and I forced Louise to be pretend doc co-host today. Welcome, Louise. Thanks for hanging out with me.
Thank you for having me. I'm gonna have a lot of fun hanging out today.
Well, since Luis and I are taking over and Doc is at NAB this week, we are hoping to have a little bit more of a interactive show. So if you're hanging out with us here in the live studio audience, feel free to ask any and all questions about podcasting and YouTube. That's what we're talking about here today. And it should be hopefully a helpful and exciting show. So I'm excited to dive in. And I know it's actually great that, Luis, you're joining me because I know obviously you spend a ton of time on YouTube as well. So I'm sure that you'll have some additional points to add to the show. I see George and David are hanging out in the chat. So seriously, any questions that you have about the world of YouTube, feel free to, to drop them in. I'm loving the it's Doc Junkie and Katie. It's
Y-
Doc Junkie and Katie
Yeah,
today.
I like that one. I think I'm gonna use it, Doc Junkie.
Is, are there negative connotations that maybe I don't know. We'll have to think
We'll
that one
figure it
through.
out, but still, we
We'll
know the
figure it out.
sentiment at heart.
We'll figure it out. Well, this is good timing because we just got back from Podcast Movement Evolutions, and one of the big talking points that continues to be popular at all of these events and just in the world of podcasting is what do podcasters do with YouTube? So people who have been podcasting for a long time are really kind of unsure as to how to step into this YouTube space. And then you have people like Luis and I who have been in the YouTube space for a while who are trying to figure out how to take advantage and put their podcasts and their shows out through all of the audio only platforms, right? So you have these kind of
Yeah.
two worlds that are coming together. So it's a great. We always joke that it's a great time to be in podcasting, and the best time is yesterday. But if not yesterday, then certainly today to jump into this space. I think really what we're going to end up seeing is a world where it matters less on the details. So like the word podcast now is becoming kind of changing, and what is a podcast is really changing. And I think we're really just going to see shows and communities and audiences being able to engage with shows, and what a show is going to mean different things depending on what platform it's in or what platforms it's on. So it's an exciting time. I think it's a really neat space to be in. There's a lot coming up here in the next few years for sure.
Yeah. One of the things that I've noticed, or that I found out recently, was that YouTube right now actually has overtaken every other podcast platform as far as like time spent or listened to. And the biggest thing is that right now, YouTube itself is being watched on more televisions than ever before. And that's actually taken over the amount of watch hours on actual television sets comparative to actually going onto the site. So it's really interesting, this new shift, and that's where we could take advantage of this medium as far as podcasting goes, because podcasting is more of a show oriented style, the way that you're doing, whether it's a conversation or just the information that you want to get out. But at the same time, your audience is growing like exponentially day by day because the medium is growing bigger on the easiest platform to consume content, which is televisions.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you're absolutely right. It's a really great opportunity for people to be taking advantage of. The cool thing about it is that if you're coming at it from a video standpoint, so if you've been, a live streamer or a video creator, it's, as we've been talking about throughout this series, it's remarkably easy to take your video content and turn it into a podcast. You literally just need to take a YouTube playlist, and honestly just a button to convert a playlist to a podcast, and that's it. So that's as easy as it is to take that step and to have a YouTube podcast. On the audio side, what's really a little bit more challenging, and where kind of a lot of the discussion points are happening, is that if you have had a kind of a traditionally audio only podcast, it is obviously more difficult for you to be thinking about how to incorporate video, what does that mean, and how to take those steps to be able to not alienate your listeners, but also open up the opportunity to be able to get in front of a whole new group of viewers and a whole new audience. So the potential is really big there. I want to start by talking about some YouTube algorithm updates, because YouTube, as you said, has been making all kinds of strides. They've dove into this this podcasting space in the last couple of years and are really obviously taking a big advantage there. Unsurprisingly, they are really, really focused on content discovery and personalization. So they are, keen to keep people watching YouTube as much as possible, and they're keen to keep people discovering new content on YouTube so that they don't leave, right? So the important thing to keep in mind with all these platforms is that they don't want you as a creator driving your audience or their audience off of YouTube. They want people to stay on YouTube with their TVs on and their devices on YouTube 24/7. That's the goal, right? So if you can really keep that in mind as you're creating content and find ways to link your content together through YouTube, you will help play into that discoverability, right? So so not only thinking about updating and uploading your episodes and all of the other video clips that go alongside that, but thinking through the paths to how you can connect that content together is a really smart way, especially if you're a creator who has more than just your podcast on YouTube. So if you have other videos, being able to show those and find ways to connect those is a really great idea right now.
One way that I'm doing that right now, because little, shameless plug, I did actually officially start my own podcast. So now it's officially out in the world. And
Yay.
I first started with 5 episodes and I posted those first. And what I did was episode one linked to episode two, and episode two linked to three, so on and so forth. And then when I got to episode five, linked right back to one, because I don't know where you started your journey, so to speak, of listening to the podcast. Because we started at episode three, want to kind of close the circle in the loop. And when I added the next episode, I then switched it. So now episode five leads to six, and six now leads back to one. So it's a little bit of work, but it's kind of like a rotation where you want to give the viewer something else to watch right after.
Yeah, absolutely. And so if you're not sure how to do that as you are uploading or going through the settings of your video, there is an option at the end for all different kinds of cards and end screens. That's the space where you want to be able to link your videos together. So some of us, have gotten into somewhat of bad habits of using that space to be like, come back to my website or
Yep.
subscribe to my show in these other places. What you really want to be able to do is keep in mind that YouTube is really trying to keep people on their platform. And so what Luis just said is a really, really great strategy. So yeah, link, trailer videos to full episodes, link any short clips that you're pulling from your episode back to the full episode, and link the episodes together. And if there's additional video content again that you have that would be of interest to people that are watching your episode. So, for example, if Luis had a podcast episode that was all about cameras and then he had a tutorial walking someone through specific camera settings, was linking those two videos together would also be a really great way to increase discoverability, not only for your podcast but just for your video content in general, and certainly your channel as well. The next thing that is really important to keep in mind from YouTube algorithm updates is that they are really taking a very big emphasis on viewer engagement. So in the same way that they are focused on trying to get more people watching more videos, they want to see those people staying longer on the videos, watch it so watch time is really, really important, keeping those watch time hours up as much as possible. And also engagement. So all of those comments and likes and any kind of interaction that your audience or any of your viewers are taking with your video is incredibly important and continues to be important as we move forward. So any of us who are in this space of live streaming or live recording our podcast episodes, this is great news for us because all of the Davids and Georges of the world who are hanging out in the live chat and interacting and chatting with each other and having those interactions, that's all helping these videos perform better and showing YouTube that we are creators that have an audience, and YouTube viewers on our channel care about the content that we're creating. So it's important to keep in mind as you're thinking about your podcast and as it relates directly to YouTube, that the formats that you're playing with matter, and really thinking through watch time, discoverability, linking videos together, and engagement are all incredibly important. None of this should be all that surprising, but good to know that this is where YouTube is moving towards, because engagement is obviously should be important to us anyway, right? We should be wanting to create content that really resonates with our audience.
Mhm. And just to add to that,
Yeah.
that I think that that's why YouTube is such an important platform right now for podcasting, because there's a lot of
Mhm.
people that are coming from the audio only world, and they don't understand the discoverability that you have
Mhm.
with the platform YouTube. So if you already have an audio only podcast, I highly recommend to start putting some episodes on the video platforms.
Yeah. Or honestly, just even playing with video. So like if taking the step to actually start recording each of your episodes as video episodes is too big a jump for right now, do some special episodes to be able to, test the waters and see how things go. So do a live stream that's open to, your members or your Patreon or your listeners, and invite them to come in and ask questions or do something fun or engaging with you. Or I don't know, maybe like a special episode that is, audio, that is video specific, that is focused on growing and being in the YouTube space. So there's small steps that you can take. It's not necessarily you have to like fully jump in, because I know it's a big step for a lot of people, but certainly playing and seeing, what's possible and what really works well is a good first step to take for sure.
Well, just
This,
to
so go
just to
ahead.
clarify, because I wasn't when I first said that, I wasn't thinking this type of video. I was still
Yeah.
thinking like even if it's a waveform, which we don't recommend, but
Yeah.
like some
Yeah.
type just for the discoverability aspect, because the way that YouTube promotes channels, I think is second to none.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really cool that that this is a platform that is free and takes almost no time and very little skill level to be able to get up and running on. So like it's not hard to start a YouTube channel. It's not hard to basically almost immediately be able to live stream on that channel. So I think
Mhm.
there's like a 24-hour waiting period once you
Yeah.
apply for live streaming. It's very, very simple and very kind of low barrier to be able to get started. And then again, like starting with live streaming is going to help you create that content really quickly and easily. So that's a great, if you're really kind of stuck and you don't have any video content, that's a great way to get started. And then thinking through all of the other different video pieces that you can add to be able to build and grow your channel. So there's a lot, as many as many of you hopefully aware, are in and around a podcast, right? There are your episodes, but there's also all of that other video content where you could have video clips, you could have special video events, whether it's like a members only watch party or any of these other things that you could do that could be sitting on this platform, that would be a really great opportunity to be able to grow.
Mhm.
And so the next in the YouTube algorithm updates is again not a surprising fact. So hopefully, if you're playing along, these are all things that should be somewhat obvious. But YouTube continues to focus on quality content creation. So they're really looking for high quality, well produced, engaging video content that is always going to win. That doesn't mean that it has to be like super buttoned up and professional. You don't want it to be like boring, right? You want it to be engaging and interesting for your specific viewers and your specific audience. But the better produced, the better created the video is, especially thinking what Louise said earlier, like much of this content is going to be shown on large TVs in people's homes. So you want to be thinking about it from a quality standpoint of the video that you're creating. It's not just going to be seen on phones or tablets. It will be seen on all different kinds of devices of all different sizes. So you want to have as good video quality as you possibly can. This next one I think is really, really interesting. Luis, I don't know if you know this fact yet or not. So, read an article by The Verge earlier this week. YouTube has actually been experimenting with features like endless TikTok style. So, it's a feed of full length videos. So, not even just short videos, where you'll just be able to swipe through the content, right? So, they're really, really focusing on showing as much content as possible to their viewers and then responding to what the viewers are engaging with and what is interesting to them. So we're now in a for you feed kind of world where what you see and what you engage with is what you will continue to see, right? So everything that you spend time watching or click or leave a comment on, YouTube is saying, oh, Luis loves that video, and so he will want more videos like that, right? So understanding who your audience is and what your niche is going to be really important in this space as well.
Okay, so just to clarify, what you're saying is that they're featuring full length vertical videos.
I think it's those just said full length videos, so I'm not exactly sure what this will look like, but they are really thinking about kind of this for you feed that users will be able to scroll through and kind of see what they're interacting with in order to be able to show them more videos. So it'll be interesting to see what that ends up looking like, because obviously
Hmm.
YouTube is, has vertical short videos, but they do also have a lot of long form video content as well. So it could be a
What I
really interesting space.
what I foresee is a lot of like what was it? Flex Seal type of advertisements as the new type, like they need to get your attention right away, so they're going to be like Flex Seal, and that's going to be whatever it is that they're going to be talking about, like that's how you're going to see a lot of feeds popping out to you, as what I see in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. And worth noting that like now more than ever, uh, the the first, probably even 10 seconds of a video is going to be really really important. So for,
Super crucial.
for those of us keeping notes, countdown timers may not make a ton of sense in the podcasting space, specifically on YouTube. Get to the point as quickly as you're able to, because you might not have all that much time before users swipe through to a different video and you've lost the opportunity to be able to reach them and build that audience. So it's worth keeping in mind and keeping a good eye on what those watch numbers look like, because your watch time is going to show you how long people are staying on your video for. And again, that's going to continue to matter more and more as we're going forward. So, in summary, YouTube has a whole bunch of algorithm updates that are really making it more and more important for podcasters to focus on creating engaging, high quality video content and fostering as much audience interaction as they possibly can in order to enhance the discoverability and growth across this platform. So, we need interesting, well produced videos, and they need to be on YouTube because this is the number one podcast platform at the moment. Awesome. Well, I want to move into talking about YouTube short clips. So, YouTube shorts have been around now for a bit. Many of us have been creating in the YouTube short space. And there's a ton of potential here and super easy ways to do this. So, Luis and I know intimately how to use Opus because we've been using
Love it.
we've been using that one for a while, and that one has actually a direct integration from Ecamm. So if you're creating an Ecamm, you literally can send your file right through into Opus, and Opus will handle all of the rest. They will use their AI tools to create these really engaging vertical video clips that then you can immediately upload as YouTube Shorts, or you can upload them as well to platforms like TikTok and Instagram as Reels and TikToks. So it's just a really great opportunity, and one at a bare minimum, share 2 or 3 for every single episode that you're creating, because having those in different places and in different formats on YouTube is just going to help play into discoverability as much as possible, right?
To add something to that, because of course we love Opus clips and I've been using it myself, but I did get a little bit of information coming in from NAB, right?
Ooh.
And NAB Opus is there talking about a new feature that they're going to be unrolling very soon, which is called Opus Search. Okay. Now, just so you
Ooh.
know, if you're thinking about doing this, I would recommend to get into Opus now, because there's going to be a new feature where you can link your YouTube channel. Okay,
I'm so
not
excited for
a
this. Yeah.
particular video, but your entire channel. And now the AI is going to work with your channel where it can pull clips from any video, and it's going to be using the trending topics as far as like what the like interwebs are actually talking about, to actually give it like the what's the latest thing, and to see if any of your old content corresponds with what's trending today. And then it'll pull a clip to actually help promote your channel. And that's what's coming just down the pike. I'm super excited because you're going to have the ability to search anything and it can clip out of your entire YouTube channel, which is bonkers to me with all my live stream episodes.
Yeah, right. So if you are like Luis and us here at Ecamm, there's like so many videos, right? That this can apply
Hmm.
to. So the cool thing is, if you've been creating in long form content on YouTube, there's like just so much potential to be able to grab clips from past episodes, and it doesn't matter how old the episodes are. So if they're,
It's your
if
channel.
the information is still relevant, if you have evergreen things, this is a great opportunity to go back through some of your back catalog, grab some of those links, drop them into Opus, and be able to generate some of these clips that you can use to promote. Um, YouTube Shorts continue to be a huge opportunity on this platform. They help a ton with discoverability. They appear on the Shorts feed, the homepage, and the subscription tab. So they're in a lot of different places. And again, if you link it through to the full episode, you've created that path for people to watch the clip, are excited and delighted by it, and then flow right into your entire episode. So it's an easy low lift strategy, and AI tools are going to help you do the mass majority of the work. So you do not need to be an editor or have any kind of huge skill set to be able to do this. It's a really super low barrier to entry. And the cool thing too is, again, like, they are 30 to 60-second clips. So like,
Yeah.
if you're thinking about it from a viewer standpoint, it's so easy for someone to watch all of it if it's interesting content, right? So it's a good teaser, and it way less work than creating an entire trailer for your show, or doing a lot of more of the produced video work. And so here's my favorite part. We were talking about about how much the YouTube algorithm loves engagement, right? All of the likes and comments and shares. These are a perfect way to get started with this, because they're very, very easy to engage with. They're short, they're easy to watch, so they get your watch time hours up. And again, they're really easy for people to just hit that like button or share it with someone. You can use them across platform and link back to YouTube and to the YouTube short page. So they really do help extend the life of your show and of each of your episodes. And again, it doesn't really matter at what point in the life of your show that you're adding this in. So if you've been doing it for a while, definitely go back and grab it. Or if you're brand new, then this is a great starting point for you to be able to have this regular flow of content from your longer forms. I'm loving. So we have Eric is saying, welcome. He's hanging out here with all of the other Ecamm addicted folks here in the chat.
Hmm.
He uses, Spazia says that they use Ecamm more than Final Cut to make videos, and that's amazing. And Industry Pets is excited to be here and is thanking us for the stream. Jeremy says, automatic B-roll from Opus Clip. Yeah, so exactly. Like, the cool thing about it is, once you have those clips, you can use them in a ton of different ways, right? So definitely they need to be YouTube Shorts, but you can also feed that back into an episode and have teaser trailers or B-roll throughout your episode as well. So there's a lot of different things that you can do.
Yeah, the easiest way that I can think of explaining it is like, how many times have you caught yourself opening up your social media and then like a half an hour, 40 minutes later, you're like, man, I can't believe that I've been on here for so long, like an hour has passed. That
Yeah.
is the goal of the platforms, of all the social media platforms. So when you try to design your content that way, it helps you and the platform that you're putting your content on. And I think Opus has gotten a lot better as well with creating what I call like the loopable clips, where you kind of don't know where they start or finish. So you might end up
Yeah.
watching the same clip a couple of times just to make sure that you like send home that information correctly.
Yeah, absolutely. And the cool thing about it is, it doesn't even really, not that it doesn't matter what the content is within it, but you are right. Like, people do get kind of caught up in a viewing loop, right? So they're just scrolling and watching things and seeing as they come up. So I will say, for my personal podcast, we reviewed the movie Multiplicity, and I had
That was a good
a
one.
right, and I had an Opus clip that was just my co-host and I talking about, like, clones and how weird, like, this movie was back in the day. It had no very little to no context. There was not like anything brilliant necessarily being said in the clip, but we were laughing and having fun and and had this kind of silly moment. And that was the moment that Opus had pulled out as one of our top top clips to use. So I shared that, and that continues to be our most seen and engaged with and popular clip on YouTube right now. And it again, it's not like it was this like super hot take or really in-depth moment. So it is worth playing around with it. Sometimes the things that you think, might not might not resonate as much as something else might. So it's worth I think it's worth playing around with and just seeing what works and what doesn't work. The cool thing about it is like it's not like you can overdo it really. Like I mean
Hmm.
if you're putting them all obviously like on Facebook or on LinkedIn, that would probably be a lot. But you can add one a day to to YouTube Shorts and be totally fine because YouTube is putting them in all these different places, and they're discoverable to all different people. So it's not like someone is just getting notifications endlessly that you're releasing more and more of these clips. You're putting them out there, and people are stumbling upon them and discovering them in all kinds of different ways. So um,
While you were
so
explaining that, what came into my head was the free samples. You understand?
yeah, it's
Like
exactly.
you just gave
Yeah.
somebody a free sample of you hanging out with your friend, laughing it up. They didn't even know what it was. Like they don't know what the context is, but when they received it, they enjoyed it. And they're like, I would like to go get some more. So that's a good
Yeah.
way of thinking about it. Like every clip out there is just like a free sample to get them to enjoy your full dish.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And people, I think we're up to 12. They need 12 touch points before they like remember your product or your service and go back to learn more. So 12 touch points for them to remember your podcast exists and for them to want to go back to actually listen to full episodes. So 12, right? 12 shorts that you need to put out in the world to be able to, get in front of people and help them get a path back to your show. So make sure that they're linked back to your full episodes, the video, not back to your website, not back to anywhere. Link it to the full episode that it's pulled from, and get as many of them out there as you possibly can, because I do think it makes a difference in getting kind of that knowledge that you exist and from a discoverability standpoint.
Yeah, the
Um,
snowball effect.
the snowball effect, exactly. So here's a couple of pro tips for podcasters when you're thinking about shorts. And again, a tool like Opus will actually automate this. So you don't even need to think about this if you're using Opus. But if you want to be thinking about different kinds of video clips that you can create or that you can pull using AI tools, anything that's a hot take or a funny moment, anything that someone would that catches their eye or attention, right? So you don't want to just be like sitting still. You want to find ones that have you laughing or talking with your hands or engaging so it looks interesting, or as a hot take or something interesting that you said. A cliffhanger style story bite, so like exactly what Luis was talking about earlier. Anything that like starts where people just get dropped into the middle of it and you're kind of like, oh, what's this? Or ends in that kind of cliffhanger way is always interesting and will catch attention. Teasing upcoming episodes. So, maybe it's just a clip that's talking about something really cool that's coming up on an upcoming episode that might make them want to click through and be able to get to your episode. And then anything that's, trending or highly relevant. So, topics or things that are of the time or that might, be caught up in those search terms that people are looking for across YouTube. Because remember, YouTube really cares about discoverability and they're trying to show people the content that they want to see. So if you have an episode or content that is really relevant, having a lot of clips for it at that time is a great way to go. Jeremy says, which is a really good point, trickling out clips after an episode is posted is key. The scheduling feature in Opus is perfect for that. Yeah, Opus actually also has an entire scheduling feature built right into it. It makes it as easy as possible. There should be no excuses for
Yep.
anyone.
And I use that for the fact that I have limited time. So when I go into Opus, I can't really like go in there every single day. So if I have an hour, I'm able to edit 4, maybe 5
Mm-hmm.
clips, schedule them, and I know that my week is set for trickling them out like Jeremy was just saying. It really does help a lot.
Mm-hmm. It sure does. Yeah, and the cool thing about it is that it's not the only wrong quote unquote is not doing it. So
Yep.
if you run out of time and you have to do 50 of them in one, in one sitting, then you have them made, then schedule them out. And so, drip them out over however long. If you realize that you did it for a while and then haven't done it in a while, start back up again. There's no, it's not like it's a
There's
missed
no wrong
opportunity. It's
way.
only a missed opportunity if you don't do it. So it's certainly worth taking advantage of. And again, keeping in mind that we're trying to find content that is easy for YouTube to show to other people and that will be really, really engaging and that links through to your longer form content. So that is the a really important aspect of it. Mark has a really great question.
Hmm.
Mark is asking about the difference between Descript and Opus Clip. Yeah, and Mark is a big fan of Descript. So both tools offer like light, easy video editing and offer the ability to make clips. Descript is a little bit more robust, I would say.
Yeah,
It
more
offers
full.
a lot more. So you could drop an entire video in, it will pull the entire transcript up, and it will allow you to actually edit and clip based on the transcript. So you can just literally scan the text like a Word document or a Google Doc and be able to highlight things, and you can turn those into clips, or you can also grab the SRT files with Descript. So it's a bigger tool, I guess. Whereas Opus is really focused on auto generating all of those different clips. Both have an integration right from Ecamm. So again, like when you're done, you have the option to send it through to Descript or send it through to Opus. For the flow, we use both. So we use Descript for generating the SRT files and the chapters for our videos and our video show notes, and then we're using Opus for the clips themselves. So, but I mean, certainly, it's probably comes down to a personal preference and what you're trying to do. What do you think? What do you think, Luis?
Well, I was gonna ask because it had been a while that I haven't used the script, in that
Mm-hmm.
manner. Have they updated anything where maybe there's even a search feature where you can like maybe search for a word because you knew there was a particular topic? Or
Mm-hmm.
because if like that, then I can see how it'll help you also. And what it is that the script is actually a full-fledged editor,
Yeah.
more leaning towards the sign of Final Cut and like
Mm-hmm.
Premiere and things like that, like full-fledged editors with an AI twist. I
Yeah.
see Opus as a promotional tool. I see
Yeah.
Opus as like advertisement, billboards, like get your content to more eyeballs out there, more of like that sample aspect, right? You're giving everyone a free sample so that they can go to your restaurant to get the full dish.
Yeah, that's a really good point and a good way to look at it. So yes, Descript does have the ability to find words because again, it all functions through like looking and reviewing the actual text. So you can just do like Command F will pull up and you can find a word. You can also replace words. So here's actually a really great example of the difference. So last night I got so again I do this personal podcast where I'm reviewing old movies, and back on like we're on episode I think like 80 something, and back like in the early days, I don't know what I was thinking. I thought it would be a good idea to play the trailers for the movies, and then we responded to the trailers because a trailer is technically not necessarily a copyright violation because it's an ad for the movie. So we were playing the trailers. But what I hadn't realized or thought about is that in a couple of the trailers, like Dirty Dancing, for example, the music from the movie is playing, and that is a copyright violation. So I got flagged, and I needed to go in and edit the video. But as many of you know, I'm not a video editor. I work with the best, but I do not know much about it myself. But Descript made it insanely easy because I just dropped it in, and then I like got to, I was able to scroll down to the text where I could see the like lyrics from the song, and I was able to just highlight that out and hit delete, and it just updates the video. It just removes that part, and then I could listen back to it again, and it went then just from our theme music right into our like welcome to the show. So I was able to, within maybe 5 minutes, I corrected 2 episodes, re-uploaded them, and they're back out again. And I mean, I was able to save the day without worrying too much about it. Whereas if I had to take that file into Opus couldn't have done that for me. That's just not how that tool works. And B, if I had to like send it out to an editor or try to do it in like a normal video editing tool, I would have been it would have been hours and a lot of money, and I would have been very stressed about the entire thing. So yeah, I do think that they have different goals. But you are correct, absolutely correct, Mark, in that they do both offer video clipping. So does Capsho, which we talked about last week, 2 weeks ago. They also offer like vertical video clipping. Again, because platforms like YouTube are putting such an emphasis on vertical videos and short form videos, there's just a ton of different tools out there that are making it as easy as possible for creators to be able to do that, because they know how much of an emphasis YouTube is putting on it, and it's not going anywhere. Between YouTube and TikTok and Instagram and Facebook, and LinkedIn, actually, almost every single platform at this point offers the ability to share and promote vertical videos and short form videos content. So there is not currently a promo code for Opus Clip. It's a great question from Industry Pets. But it is something we're working on because we do have a good relationship with them. So stay tuned. We'll get that out as soon as we have
I'm
one.
just gonna add as well. My favorite part of Opus is the integration with all the other social media platforms. So if you're not
Mm-hmm.
familiar with this, after Opus has done his all AI thing and you have a clip that you want to now publish to it, I already have my LinkedIn, my TikTok, my Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook, I believe, 5 different platforms connected to it. And all I have to do is click one button and it sends the same file with different context, added to it to all the platforms in one shot. And with the scheduling feature and having multiple platforms like that has been the best thing for me to actually promote my own stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's huge. Um, One tool, since we're talking about tools, that I did not plan to share, but now that we're talking about it, I should mention it. So Caleb on our team discovered this one. There's a tool called Wordsmith. If you search Wordsmith app, that is honestly magical, and it totally flies under the radar. It's a really small company. It's a really simple app, but what it does is once you are done uploading your episode to YouTube, so specifically YouTube, and it has to be a published episode, a published video on YouTube, it will actually take that video and using AI, it will write an email for that video that then you can send out to all of your listeners and your viewers and your email contacts. And it is got like a 99.9% accuracy. Like there's maybe 1 out of 100 times that I ever need to even like tweak something. And usually it's just removing like an extra emoji where I'm like, too many emoji. But its voice is scary accurate because again, it's pulling from the actual video transcript and the video content. So it has your voice, it understands what the episode was about. It lays it all out beautifully in email. It integrates directly with ConvertKit. So if you're using now Kit as your email provider, it is a really seamless workflow, and it's been magical. So if you are part of our newsletter, all of our newsletters that we send out every Wednesday are all thanks to Wordsmith. So that's a really great one to take a look at in the world of video podcasting. And again, this only works with YouTube. So like once that video is up on YouTube as an episode, then it's just a really easy way to get consistent content out there to your audience in a slightly different form, right? So maybe that you catch their attention on YouTube because you're getting better at discoverability, or maybe you catch their attention in your email list and are driving them back to YouTube, which again, YouTube loves because they want you to be on that platform. So it's a good
Well,
option there.
personally, thank you for that one because I will definitely be using that.
All Caleb. I don't even know how Caleb discovered it, but
I'll send them a
it was
message.
definitely a great one.
Big
It's a great
hearts.
one. All right, I want to fly. I know we have a ton of content here, and definitely feel free to throw out any other questions as we go through here. But I want to make sure I'm covering as much as possible. Okay, so as we're talking about YouTube and discoverability, there are obviously ways that you can optimize your episodes and your videos for discoverability. A lot of this stuff is obvious or things that we've talked about before in other places, but it's important to know a couple of things. So the first is that you need to have eye-catching thumbnails. If you've been fans of the flow for a while, you can see that we have done a lot of work to update our thumbnails to be really eye-catching. One thing I did not think of or notice as a newer person to YouTube and to podcasting is that we had these really beautifully designed thumbnails that Marshall designed for us. They looked fantastic, but they were the same image and the same style every single time. So it was, Doc and I and our awesome background and our Flow logo, and then it just had a space to be able to change the text. So every week I was just going in and I was changing the text. But if you look at that across YouTube, so if you're looking at the entire like podcast playlist, it's really difficult to see what episode you've already watched, right? Because they all quickly, especially at a smaller scale, look exactly the same. So even though it's a podcast and you're creating episodes consistently on a regular basis, you do want to think about the same principles that go into a YouTube thumbnail. So you want it to be eye-catching. You want to have a lot of visual cues and not as many words and text on screen. Anything that's going to catch attention. So, you want bright colors, you want bold text, expressive faces, you want contrast, all of the kind of best practices of YouTube thumbnails. They can still be on brand and pull in the different elements that make up the show, but you do want to be able to do a test and look at 3 or 4 episodes next to each other and say, like, can you tell the difference between these episodes? Can you immediately tell what this episode is about? That's really important for YouTube. And I think will actually start becoming more and more important for the podcast players as well. We've talked in the past about Spotify, definitely keeping an eye on what YouTube is doing and adding a lot of these kinds of things in. You can now add thumbnails to Spotify for your video episodes. So they are paying attention, and certainly something to keep in mind. And then the second thing is titles. So, if you've come from an audio background, the titles haven't been necessarily as important. So, you might be in the habit of putting like episode 12, the flow, blah, blah, blah interview. But again, YouTube is a huge search engine, right? It's the number 2 search engine in the world. It's probably at some point going to become number 1 over Google, but obviously Google owns both. So you really want to lead with what the content is about. So, whatever it is. My example is how to build a 7-figure side hustle with Jane Doe. So
Hmm.
whatever that episode is, lead with that, put it first. Again, this is like a great opportunity for AI tools. So ChatGPT, Claude, there's
Yes.
a ton of different ways to be able to find a title that is clickable, enticing, something that people will be interested and excited to listen to and to watch, but also something that is going to pull into the search engine, right? So any of those valuable keywords that actually are in the episode. Please don't cheat the system. Make it accurate, but make it interesting. And then the last thing in the world of optimizing for discoverability is to really think through optimizing your entire description, right? So again, in those show notes, right? We think about it as show notes for podcasts. You still want to be able to include all of that helpful information. This is where you want to lead with the link. So if you have like a free course or a lead gen, or you want to drive people back to your website, whatever it is, one link at the very top, right? That's a great spot for it. A pinned comment is also a really great spot for that same link so that it's really visible. And then you also get a little bit of additional visibility because you have a comment, even if it's just you. So that's where you want to put that. And then you certainly want to include chapters, a relevant description, any relevant links, like all of that information can be in that description, and having as much content as possible in there that is relevant to your episode is really, really important. And that can carry across to the podcast players as well. So that can be the same information you're putting into your podcast host to send out to the players, but you want to optimize it for YouTube and then repurpose it for the podcast players, not the other way around. Because YouTube doesn't care what those best practices are. So YouTube first and then everywhere else, including things like hashtags, obviously, and keywords and all of that important stuff.
Hmm.
What else am I missing, Luis? Anything else in that area?
Nothing. I don't think anything's missing, but I am gonna add something else that was just from before. Another thing that
Sure.
I've done with Opus that you mentioned is like, not Opus. I'm sorry, with Chat GPT, so
Mm-hmm.
that it can recognize and learn how you speak compared to
Mm-hmm.
everything. Is that I actually took all of my transcripts from all of my
Mm-hmm.
past live streams, and I just fed it to him into the memory, and I just said, "This is
Mm-hmm.
how I talk." and now it talks to me the way I talk to myself, so to speak, and it's weird. You understand? But it's like I would have said that same exact thing, is because it already has that much context of the way that I speak, that it knows how I would put things together. So it's a little eerie, but also really cool with the technology and the fact that it's learned to think like you. So it's definitely going to help you to get to your goals.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, and honestly, like the cool thing about AI is that it's always learning. So absolutely, like as much information as you're able to give it, like, and you don't need to. I think what made it really easier for me or unlocked kind of the AI potential for me is that you actually don't need to overthink or over construct these like elaborate prompts. Like you really can just talk to it as if you were typing to a friend or a colleague, like, hey, I have this podcast, this is what this podcast is about, this is like this is my goal for the episode. Like I literally say to it, hey, I want a discoverable, clickable, interesting subject line. It needs to have like a not subject line, title. It needs to have a hook. It needs to be something that people want to click on. Here is what the episode is about, and drop it in. And then if what it gives you back isn't exactly what you're looking for, push back. Be like, oh, close, but I really think like the most important keyword in this is actually this. Can you give me some alternate ideas? Like, go back and forth and ideate with it, and see what you get, and then test it. There's so many opportunities for A/B testing across the different platforms. So see what works and see what doesn't, and you can go back and update it later. Again, the cool thing about all of these platforms is 6 months from now, you could go back and say, why is this episode not performing as well as the other episodes? Change the title of it and see how it does. Change the thumbnail of it and see how it does. If the content is great, all of the data around it might not be performing as well as it could, just because you used the wrong keyword, or it wasn't as compelling as it could be. So yeah, it's great. Yeah, Mark is saying it's wild to copy and paste the text from Descript back over to Chat GPT to create more content. Yeah,
Mm.
but it works. It works really well, and you can, you can do a ton with it. I like it. It is amazing what's possible these days. It's so much faster. What used to take hours and hours of work now takes
Yes,
seconds.
he is my personal assistant. That's the way that I use him for everything. And the reason why I got into loading the transcripts, just FYI, is because I was actually trying to build a database about my city's goss segment. So I always highlight a creator at the end of my live streams, and I wanted to have a list because I don't want to repeat. So I actually took all the episodes and gave it the transcript, and chat actually built a database for me that now I could
Mm-hmm.
reference to say, like, I know what episode they were on, who I spoke about, so on and so forth, which is also giving me a list of the people that I want to reach out to for my
Yeah.
actual podcast, which is a spin-off from that same segment.
Yeah, it's wild what's possible, and it's such a I know we say this all the time, but it's such a it's a cool time and a cool space to be in. Like what used to cost literally millions of dollars. You had to be in like a television studio. You had to have a team of people who had years of education and skill and knowledge in all of this. The gear was an absolute fortune and complicated to use. And now like you literally can be up and running with a really well produced video podcast show on YouTube that is going to potentially millions of people's homes on their TVs. Like it
Yeah.
is just I don't it's wild. It's wild, the opportunity. And I know that like it is big, and it is, scary for a lot of people who have already built these incredible shows in all these different spaces. But just like step by step, the potential is really huge, and the ability for all of us to be creators and to have a voice and to have an audience and to connect with people, I just think is so incredibly important. So
Yeah.
it's a really cool time, and there's so many resources and opportunities out there. And again, if we can do it by just making little changes here and there, anyone can do it. It's not hard. It's just a matter of really keeping in mind that, again, YouTube is a search engine Their number one goal is to keep people on their platform for as long as humanly possible. So if you are giving them valuable content and you're connecting that path for people and you're giving those viewers a really great experience that they're liking and sharing and watching and engaging with, you will win. It is that easy. That like that is what they are out to do, is just keep, is just keep feeding that machine, really. So it might take a bit of time as you get better at it and you take a look at all of the different, analytics and opportunities that are in front of you. But just being a consistent creator, creating good, relevant content that is exciting your key audience, that is all you need to do on YouTube. Everything else is noise. So it's really just about figuring out like how you can continuously get that content up there and put it in the right places with the right terms to be able to be picked up by YouTube. And then they're going to do the work. They're going to put it out in front of the audience because they want people to keep watching, which is really cool. I really like it. And again, it's all free. We're not
Yep.
paying like crazy amounts
The
of
key
money for
word that
this.
I took from there was the potential, right? The potential that we
Mhm.
have with all of these platforms is immeasurable almost, because of the simple fact that I can literally tell you, like, somebody can create a show on any of these platforms and be bigger than any mainstream show currently
Mhm.
right now because the numbers back them up. I can give you
Yep.
laundry list of creators that are doing much better on YouTube than CNN and Jimmy Kimmel, and I can give you a whole
Mhm.
list of shows on mainstream that don't get the types of numbers that viewers get on YouTube and multiple platforms.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know. The more that you dive into it, the more that you will start seeing even like what your own habits are as a viewer and as a listener. And you can take those learnings and apply them to your show as well. Like I am
Always.
constantly learning, even from just like listening to shows and watching shows that I like just personally enjoy. I'm like, oh, how did I end up here? Like what was the path that got me from like not knowing about this show to knowing about this show? Like, how often do I go back and listen or watch the show? Am I mostly listening? Am I mostly viewing? Where? How? Like, is it on my TV? Is it on my computer? Like, ask yourself some of these questions about the shows that you love. And if you're not listening or watching shows, find some. It doesn't have to be in your topic or in your world. It could solely just be for fun. But it is kind of important to understand how people are finding shows, what the options are out there for discoverability. But I mean, I've been using my show as literally like a personal case study, and I started with absolutely nothing, like nothing, no budget, like a like minimal level skill set, and it's been a couple of years, and my numbers are 3 times on YouTube what they are on any of the podcast players. So it's just a matter of showing up consistently with good content and just continuing to get better each and every single time. So the good news is that all of these YouTube algorithm updates are all doubling down in the spaces that you should already be aware of and making it a better, more interesting platform for creators as well as for viewers and subscribers. So I think it's cool that the growth spaces that YouTube is moving into are actually of benefit for all of us. All right, so I do see a couple of other questions. So Mark is asking, Opus, when it clips, we'll put the original video in the description. Opus, when it clips, we'll put the original video in the
I don't
description.
think so, right? I don't think that's part of their description algorithm when you clip something out that
Oh
it's not
no, yeah,
sending you a
sorry.
link to it. No. But it is
No.
coming
So
from your same channel. So that's where,
yeah.
like, let's say you Opus clip something and you put it as a short on your YouTube channel, you will
Mm-hmm.
automatically have the button to subscribe there. And I have noticed that the more short content I put out there, the faster
Mm-hmm.
my subscriber count has increased. And that's just
Yeah.
been relevant to that even more than like my live streams and things like that.
Yeah. So, Mark, if we are understanding your question correctly, if not, please ask again in a different way. But yeah. So the process that we're doing is we are creating the clips in Opus. So we drop in the YouTube link, or we send it directly from Ecamm into Opus. Opus does all of its magic and creates a whole bunch of different clips. We choose which ones we like and download them. When we upload them into YouTube, part of the steps of uploading a YouTube short, or actually any video, there is a step at the end where it gives you the opportunity to add end cards, end
Screen.
screens, and cards. So in the end screens and cards section, you can link that video through to another video, and that is what you should be doing. So it'll actually show the video on screen so that when they're finished watching, it'll be like, now this video. You can choose what that next video is. So you should absolutely be doing that. At the same time, and another place you could do this is in the description of the YouTube short, you could put at the very top, want to watch the full episode? Here's the link, and just put the YouTube link in there. That's great. You can also do a comment on the YouTube short that says, want to watch the full episode? Here's the link, and then pin that comment. So there's a bunch of different places in YouTube that will allow you to connect the dots of those different videos. So it is a little bit of extra work. You would need to manually, in the setup process, add that link in, add that connection point in, but the benefit is astounding. So it really makes a very big difference because, again, YouTube is seeing people going through. You've made it really easy for the viewer to say like, oh, okay, next video. And YouTube is saying like, oh, Katie created this video and it's really popular, and everyone's going from that video into this other video, which is really popular. So we're going to show more of those. Those people like that content and they want to see more of it. You're giving a signal to YouTube that you're successful, even though you're doing it all yourself. So it's helping to make that process easier for the viewers. Yeah, and Jeremy is saying you usually block out the last 10 seconds of the video. Yeah. So it's like they've finished watching and then they're going to go into the next video. You're helping YouTube keep the people on YouTube, and you're helping the viewer see all of your video content and connect it all together. And when you get big enough, you can even add trailers to your content. So there's there's a lot of different options for connecting all of those dots.
One
But
step
yeah,
at a time,
great
Katie.
question, Mark. Yeah, one step at a time. One step at a time. Well, oh my gosh, I have double the amount of notes that we got through, so we'll have to do another episode if this was helpful for everyone. But I really appreciate all of you joining and hanging out with me on my semi-solo show, and huge thanks to Luis for spending time being my second face co-host.
Anytime.
Hanging out. I love it. So next week we are off, and the following week we have Gordon joining us to talk
Yes.
a little bit more about legal aspects of podcasting, which continue to be more and more important, especially with all these AI tools.
Yes.
So now that we've seduced you into using AI tools, we'll give you a little bit of time to digest it, and then we'll come back and allow you to answer all your questions about all of the best practices and the things that you should be doing to make sure you're keeping safe online. But thank you so much for everyone for joining us. I really appreciate it. All right. Luis, we're going to roll over, and Luis is producing and co-hosting today. I love it. If you like this episode of The Flow, you can find us over flow.ecam.com. You can always email us, flow@ecam.com. This podcast goes out across all of the different podcast players, but our number one spot is YouTube right there at the top. And it is a place where you can find all of our episodes and all of our clips, and hopefully you will engage and share them so that YouTube continues to give us all of the love. If you liked this episode, and then you should definitely check out our sponsor for this episode, which is Shure. Shure makes all of the microphones we have here in the studio and out in the world in the Ecamm fam. My absolute favorite one is the MV7, but the SM7B is pretty awesome too. That's what I'm using right now. And they have some really incredible headphones and all kinds of things in the world of audio. So huge thank you to Shure for always being a great partner to all of us here at Ecamm. And that's it. I think we did it. We did it, Luis.
Successful.
What am I missing?
Another
I'm not used
hour.
to being the voice.
Another hour just flew by as always.
Another hour flew by as always. Well, thanks to all the flow writers who always make it fun. People who record their shows without a live audience are really missing out. You're really, really missing out.
Yes.
Way more fun with other people hanging out.
Mm-hmm. And you don't beat
awesome.
yourself up over it, because if you make a mistake, you just roll over it. I can tell you, when I edit or when I record myself and I make a mistake, it's just like I almost feel like quitting the whole recording. But with live streaming, it's just like you just let it go and be like, I had an episode where I had the voice changer on for 15
Mm.
minutes while I was talking about cameras, and I didn't even know because I'm one of the rare people who don't monitor their own audio because it throws me off.
You're like,
So I just went on
you were
my
like, this is
soliloquy and
Luis, and I am
I did the monster voice.
talking about, yeah.
Exactly. So it was hilarious. And then when I got back to the chat to see all the like crying emojis and everything, everybody was cracking up trying to warn me, but it was too late. But that's what they say. They'll never remember
And
what
that's
you
probably
said.
your most memorable episode, I'm willing to
Yeah,
bet.
that's what I
And also
said.
the clips from that episode would be fantastic. So you definitely need to grab those clips and share them out across. I would click through that clip and watch the full episode just because it sounds hilarious. The
Yep.
fails sometimes are the best. The
Yep.
fails are the
That's what I
best.
said. They don't remember what you said, but they'll always remember how you made them feel. So, that's something that will always
Absolutely.
live on for infamy. See, Jeremy just said that was a classic
Uh,
episode.
is a classic episode. Awesome. Well, we got to do this because Aiden is listening in the background. So, from all of us here, Flow Riders out.
Out.
Bye, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Oh, hit the wrong button.